There is a part of you that you do not show the world, a part you learn to hide, the anger you were told was too much, the ambition you were told was selfish, the sensitivity you were told was weakness. Over time, you push these traits into the dark corners of your psyche. You buried them so deeply that you forgot they were ever yours. That buried territory is what we call the shadow. Most people fear their shadow. They believe it represents everything negative within them: jealousy, rage, insecurity, desire, selfishness. They spend years trying to appear good, balanced, acceptable, while secretly fighting impulses and emotions that refuse to disappear. But what you suppress does not dissolve, it waits. It gathers strength in silence, and eventually it controls you from behind the curtain. The shadow is not evil. It is energy without awareness. When you deny your anger, it becomes passive aggression. When you deny your ambition, it becomes envy. When you deny your sadness, it becomes numbness. Suppression does not create virtue. It creates distortion. The traits you reject in yourself do not vanish. They project outward. You begin to criticize others for qualities you secretly possess. You feel triggered by confidence because you abandoned your own. You resent boldness because you silenced your own voice. The shadow always reveals itself through projection. But here is the paradox. The shadow contains your greatest power. Inside your anger is clarity. It shows you where your boundaries were crossed. Inside your jealousy is desire. It reveals what you truly want but are afraid to pursue. Inside your fear is potential. It points toward the edge of your expansion. When you stop running from your shadow and begin studying it, something shifts. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" you begin asking, "What is this teaching me?" Your anger may be showing you that you tolerate disrespect. Your insecurity may be exposing a neglected talent. Your control issues may be hiding a deep fear of abandonment. The shadow is not trying to destroy you. It is trying to be integrated. Integration does not mean acting out every impulse. It means acknowledging it without judgment. It means saying, "Yes, that feeling exists within me," instead of pretending you are above it. Awareness transforms raw instinct into conscious choice. When you integrate your shadow, you become whole, and wholeness is power. A person who denies their darkness is fragile. They depend on external validation to maintain their image. But a person who has faced their shadow cannot be easily manipulated. They are no longer shocked by their own complexity. They are not ashamed of their intensity. They understand their capacity for both creation and destruction, and therefore they choose consciously. Confidence is not the absence of darkness. It is comfort with it. Think about the traits you secretly criticize in others: dominance, pride, attention-seeking, assertiveness. Now ask yourself, is there a part of you that longs to embody some of that energy? Often, what irritates you most is what you disowned. The shadow also holds creativity, the ideas you deemed unrealistic, the dreams you labeled impractical, the identity you were afraid to explore. When you suppress these impulses, life feels dull and mechanical. When you reclaim them, vitality returns. Many people spend their lives trying to appear perfect, but perfection is sterile. Power comes from integration. The artist who channels their pain creates beauty. The leader who understands their aggression commands respect without cruelty. The empath who acknowledges their resentment learns to set boundaries. Your shadow is your psychological basement, and within it are treasures covered in dust. To access them, You must be willing to confront discomfort. You must admit uncomfortable truths about yourself. You must accept that you are capable of selfishness, pettiness, and contradiction. Not to indulge them, but to understand them. Because once understood, they become tools instead of traps. The energy you use to suppress your shadow becomes available for growth. The fear you once avoided becomes fuel. The insecurity you once hid becomes humility paired with strength. The shadow is not your enemy standing in your way. It is the unclaimed part of you waiting to be reclaimed. The dormant force that becomes strength when brought into awareness, the hidden fire that stops burning you from the inside once you learn how to hold it in your own hands. From the moment you became aware of yourself, you were taught to measure your worth through reaction. Applause meant you were good. Silence meant you were not enough. Approval felt like safety. Rejection felt like danger. Slow, without realizing it, you handed your self-belief over to the hands of other people. You waited for praise before trusting your abilities. You waited for a recognition before claiming your strengths. You waited for someone to choose you before choosing yourself. But self-belief that depends on applause is fragile. It rises and falls with opinions. It expands when you are admired and collapses when you are criticized. It is not belief, it is dependency. True self-belief is an internal decision. It is not given to you, it is claimed. External validation is unpredictable. People project their own fears, insecurities, and limitations onto you. Some will doubt you because they doubt themselves. Some will discourage you because your courage exposes their hesitation. If your confidence relies on their approval, you will constantly shrink to maintain comfort. When you decide to believe in yourself internally, you remove the negotiation. You stop asking, do they think I'm capable? And start declaring, I know I am. This decision does not require evidence. It requires commitment. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You may not have the results yet. You may not have the skills perfected. You may not have proof. But self-belief is not built after achievement. It is built before it. Achievement is the byproduct of sustained belief, not the source of it. Think about how often you've doubted yourself simply because no one reassured you. How many ideas did you silence because they weren't immediately celebrated? How many ambitions did you downplay because others didn't understand them? When you tie belief to validation, you live reactively. Your identity shifts depending on the room you are in. Around confident people, you shrink. Around insecure people, you hesitate to shine. You become adjustable, adaptable, careful. But when belief becomes internal, something changes. You walk into a room knowing your value does not fluctuate based on reception. You speak because you have something to say, not because you are guaranteed agreement. You act because it aligns with your vision, not because it guarantees applause. Self-belief is an act of psychological independence. It means trusting your instincts even when they contradict popular opinion. It means honoring your ambition even when it intimidates others. It means continuing forward even when encouragement is absent. The world often validates results, not potential. But potential exists long before it is visible. If you cannot see it within yourself first, no one else will be able to see it for you. There will be moments when you are misunderstood, moments when your progress is invisible, moments when effort feels unnoticed. If your belief depends on recognition, these moments will break you. But if belief is your decision, Those moments become training. You begin to understand that criticism does not erase capability. Silence does not erase worth. Delay does not erase destiny. External validation is temporary. It is loud but fleeting. Today's applause becomes tomorrow's expectation. If you rely on it, you will constantly chase more, constantly seek reassurance, constantly question yourself when attention fades. Internal belief, however, is steady. It does not need witnesses. It does not require performance. It is a quiet certainty that remains even when circumstances fluctuate. This does not mean you ignore feedback. It means feedback informs you. It does not define you. When you choose to believe in yourself, you stop waiting for permission. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit someone else's comfort. You stop explaining your vision to those who lack the imagination to see it. You begin to act from conviction instead of approval. And conviction is powerful because it creates momentum. You try more, you risk more, you persist longer, not because you are guaranteed success, but because you trust your capacity to grow into it. Self-belief is not arrogance. It is self-trust. It is the understanding that even if you fail, you are capable of learning. Even if you fall, you are capable of rising. Even if you are doubted, you are capable of proving yourself through action rather than argument. The moment you internalize belief, you become less controllable. Manipulation loses its grip because your worth is no longer negotiable. Rejection loses its sting because it does not redefine you. Comparison loses its poison because you are no longer measuring yourself through external scales. You move differently when belief comes from within. You take responsibility for your growth. You acknowledge your weaknesses without collapsing into them. You strive without desperation, because you are no longer trying to convince the world you matter. You have already decided that you do. No one asks for pain. No one wakes up hoping to be betrayed, rejected, misunderstood, or broken. Yet pain arrives uninvited, cutting through comfort, dismantling illusions, exposing vulnerabilities you didn't know existed. Most people see pain as punishment, something unfair, something to escape as quickly as possible. But pain is not a curse placed upon you. It is an initiation. Initiation means transformation through trial. Every meaningful transition in life is marked by discomfort. The ending of a relationship shatters your identity. Failure dismantles your confidence. Loss forces you to confront impermanence. In those moments, you feel stripped, exposed, smaller than you thought you were. But what is really happening is this: the version of you that could not carry the next level of strength is dissolving. Pain removes illusions. It exposes where you were dependent. It reveals where you ignored your intuition. It shows you the boundaries you failed to set and the truths you refused to see. Without pain, you would continue repeating patterns unconsciously. You would remain attached to situations that quietly diminish you. Pain interrupts the cycle. When you are comfortable, you rarely question your life. When you are hurting, you question everything. That questioning is power beginning to awaken. Think about who you were before your greatest hardship. Perhaps you were more naive, more willing to tolerate disrespect, more afraid to stand alone. Then something happened that forced you to confront yourself. You were betrayed, you were overlooked, you were forced to start over. In the moment, it felt like collapse. In reality, pain demands self-examination. It asks, why did this hurt so deeply? It asks, what did I ignore? It asks, who am I without what I just lost? These questions carve depth into you. They push you inward, and inward is where power is forged. Personal power is not loud. It is not dominance or aggression. It is grounded awareness. It is the calm strength that comes from having faced your own darkness and survived it. That strength cannot be borrowed. It must be earned through confrontation with discomfort. When you avoid pain, you avoid growth. You numb it with distractions. You blame others. You pretend it does not matter. But suppressed pain does not disappear. It lingers in the body. It shapes your reactions. It turns into bitterness or fear. Avoided pain becomes unconscious control. Faced pain becomes wisdom. Every wound carries information. It teaches you what you value. It clarifies what you will no longer accept. It strengthens your discernment. The person who has experienced betrayal recognizes red flags sooner. The person who has endured rejection becomes less afraid of standing alone. The person who has lost everything understands resilience intimately. Pain strips away superficial identity. It forces you to discover who you are beyond roles, beyond relationships, beyond status. When those external supports fall away, you meet yourself in raw form, and that meeting is transformative. You begin to realize you are more durable than you believed. You discover emotional capacities you never exercised. You find courage you did not know existed. Strength is rarely built in comfort. It is constructed in moments where quitting feels justified, but you choose endurance instead. Pain also humbles you. It softens judgment. It deepens empathy. You become less reactive because you understand complexity. You become more compassionate because you recognize hidden battles. Power without empathy is fragile. Pain refines power into something grounded and humane. There is a reason the most impactful individuals often carry visible scars, not just physical, but emotional and psychological. They have been broken and rebuilt. They have confronted their fear of inadequacy and survived it. They have faced loneliness and discovered self-reliance. Pain reshaped them. The initiation is not about suffering endlessly. It is about allowing suffering to teach you. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the empowered mind asks, "What is this shaping me into?" When you shift that perspective, pain loses its identity as an enemy. It becomes a threshold, a doorway, a rite of passage separating who you were from who you are becoming. Every challenge contains an invitation to evolve. Every heartbreak contains an invitation to strengthen boundaries. Every failure contains an invitation to refine strategy and discipline. Personal power is not the absence of wounds. It is the integration of them. It is the ability to carry your scars without shame, to speak your truth without trembling, to trust yourself even after disappointment. Pain initiates you into that level of awareness. It strips away dependency. It burns away illusion. It forces you to stand on your own psychological foundation. When you realize that what nearly broke you actually revealed you, that the darkness you feared was shaping resilience, that the suffering you resisted was forging clarity and strength you could not have developed in comfort. From the moment you entered the world, you were shaped by expectations, family expectations, cultural expectations, social expectations. You were taught what success looks like, what love should feel like, how to behave, what to pursue, and even who to become. Slowly, without realizing it, you began constructing an identity that was acceptable rather than authentic. Individuation is the process of dismantling that borrowed identity. It is the journey of becoming who you actually are beneath conditioning beneath fear, beneath the need to belong. But this journey is not comfortable. It demands something rarer, courageous self-trust. To individuate means to stand apart. It means acknowledging that the path designed for you may not align with your inner truth. It means questioning beliefs you once accepted without thought. It means risking disapproval in order to remain aligned with yourself. And that requires courage. Self-trust is not loud confidence. It is not arrogance. It is a quiet inner knowing that persists even when external voices grow critical. It is the ability to say, "This feels right for me," even when it makes others uncomfortable. The greatest obstacle to individuation is the fear of rejection. Humans are wired for belonging. Approval feels safe. Agreement feels secure. But authenticity often disrupts comfort. When you begin expressing your true thoughts, your real ambitions, your deeper values, not everyone will understand. Some will resist your change because it challenges their perception of you. Some will question your direction because it differs from theirs. Some will interpret your growth as betrayal. Without self-trust, those reactions will pull you back into conformity. Individuation requires that you withstand that pressure. It asks you to sit with doubt without abandoning yourself. It asks you to move forward even when validation is absent. It asks you to trust your internal compass more than external applause. This process often begins with discomfort. You start noticing the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be. You feel tension in conversations where you silence your opinions. You feel exhaustion from maintaining roles that no longer fit. You feel a quiet restlessness that refuses to disappear. That restlessness is your psyche demanding alignment, but alignment requires decisions, difficult ones. You may need to leave environments that no longer nourish you. You may need to redefine relationships. You may need to pursue goals that seem uncertain but feel deeply authentic. Each step demands faith in your own perception. Courageous self-trust means accepting that you will make mistakes. It means understanding that growth includes missteps, but it also means believing that even your mistakes are part of discovering yourself. Without self-trust, you remain fragmented. You adapt to each situation, shifting personalities to fit expectations. You become agreeable but disconnected, successful perhaps, but unfulfilled. Individuation is about wholeness. It is integrating the parts of you that were dismissed, the creativity you suppressed, the ambition you minimized, the sensitivity you hid, the opinions you softened. It is reclaiming those pieces and allowing them to exist openly. That reclamation can feel destabilizing. When you stop performing, you lose certain forms of approval. When you stop conforming, you encounter resistance. But what you gain is something far more powerful, inner coherence. You begin to feel aligned. Your actions match your values. Your words reflect your thoughts. Your choices resonate internally. There is less inner conflict because you are no longer negotiating your identity. Self-trust strengthens through action. Each time you honor your intuition, it grows louder. Each time you defend your boundary, it becomes firmer. Each time you choose authenticity over comfort, you reinforce your internal foundation. Over time, you realize that the fear of standing alone was exaggerated. You discover that integrity feels more stable than approval. You understand that belonging means little if it requires self-betrayal. Individuation does not isolate you from others. It refines your relationships. When you show up authentically, the connections that remain are genuine. They are not based on performance, but on truth. Courageous self-trust also requires confronting your shadow. It means acknowledging your flaws without collapsing into shame. It means recognizing your contradictions without denying them. Wholeness is not perfection. It is integration. The more you trust yourself, the less reactive you become. Criticism informs you but does not define you. Praise encourages you but does not inflate you. You are anchored internally. Individuation is not a single decision. It is a continuous process, a daily commitment to alignment, a repeated choice to listen inward before responding outward. It is the willingness to disappoint expectations in order to remain faithful to your deeper nature. And as you continue to choose yourself with clarity rather than rebellion, with grounded awareness rather than defiance, you step further into a life shaped not by fear of exclusion, but by deliberate authenticity and inner authority. There are forces within you that shape your life long before you are aware of them. Invisible patterns, unquestioned beliefs, emotional imprints from childhood, unresolved fears, silent assumptions about who you are and what you deserve. These forces operate beneath the surface of your awareness, quietly influencing your choices, your relationships, and your reactions. This hidden territory is the unconscious. Most people believe they are consciously directing their lives. They think their decisions are rational, deliberate, and independent. But if you look closely, you will notice repetition. The same type of relationship with a different face, the same conflict in a different environment, the same fear resurfacing in new opportunities. Repetition is not coincidence. It is unconscious patterning. If you were criticized constantly as a child, you may unconsciously seek partners who reinforce that familiar dynamic. If you were ignored, you may overachieve to secure validation. If you felt unsafe expressing emotion, you may suppress vulnerability and later struggle with intimacy. These behaviors feel natural because they are familiar. But familiarity is not freedom. What remains unconscious directs you from the shadows. You may say you want success, yet procrastinate every time progress begins. You may say you desire love, yet sabotage connection when it becomes real. You may claim independence, yet fear being alone. The contradiction confuses you because consciously your intentions are clear. Unconsciously, your fears are stronger. Until those fears are made conscious, they will continue to script your life. The unconscious speaks through emotion, through triggers, through intense reactions that feel disproportionate to the moment. When someone's comment angers you deeply, it is rarely about the comment alone. It touches something older, something unresolved. Making the unconscious conscious requires radical honesty. It requires asking uncomfortable questions. Why does this pattern keep repeating? What am I afraid would happen if I succeeded? Why do I feel threatened in situations that are objectively safe? What belief about myself am I protecting? Awareness disrupts automatic behavior. The moment you recognize a pattern, you create distance between stimulus and reaction. Instead of exploding in anger, you pause and ask what insecurity was activated. Instead of withdrawing in fear, you notice the memory that is being replayed. That pause is power. Without awareness, you are reactive. With awareness, you are intentional. The unconscious also contains inherited beliefs, ideas absorbed from family, culture, and early authority figures. Perhaps you were taught that money is scarce, that vulnerability is weakness, that ambition is selfish, that failure is shameful. These beliefs may not reflect your conscious values, yet they influence your decisions. You may limit yourself financially because scarcity feels normal. You may resist emotional openness because strength was defined as silence. You may downplay your success to avoid appearing arrogant. These choices feel personal, but they are often inherited. When you bring them into awareness, you can evaluate them. You can ask, is this belief truly mine? You can choose to keep it, refine it, or discard it. The unconscious is not only a container for wounds, it also holds untapped potential. Talents you dismissed, desires you suppressed, creative impulses you judged impractical. When ignored, these aspects can manifest as restlessness or dissatisfaction. You feel unfulfilled without knowing why. Making them conscious allows integration. You begin to act in alignment with deeper desires instead of surface expectations. You choose careers, relationships, and environments that resonate with your authentic inclinations rather than unconscious conditioning. This process is not comfortable. Awareness often brings grief. You may realize how many years were shaped by fear. You may confront truths about yourself that challenge your identity. You may see how you contributed to your own suffering through avoidance. But discomfort is temporary. Unconscious repetition can last a lifetime. Destiny is not a fixed script written by fate. It is often the accumulation of unconscious choices. If you fear abandonment, you may cling too tightly, pushing others away, fulfilling the very outcome you feared. If you believe you are unworthy, you may accept less than you deserve, reinforcing that belief. When you see the pattern, you interrupt it. You begin responding rather than reacting. You begin choosing rather than repeating. You begin shaping your life with awareness rather than drifting through inherited narratives. Self-awareness transforms destiny from something that happens to you into something you participate in consciously, and as light enters the hidden spaces of your mind, the cycles that once controlled you lose their grip, revealing that what felt like fate was often fear operating unnoticed beneath your awareness.